Alrighty, welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. We do actually have a lot to discuss today. We're going to open with the Freddy Peralta trade. As you see, we got AmFam behind us. We're going to open up with the Freddy Peralta trade and kind of go through basically where the Brewers are coming from on this, and then we'll briefly talk about the prospects that the Brewers got, and then I want to go through the common complaints and concerns that I've seen from the Freddy Peralta trade. So we're going to start with that. Then we're going to stay in Milwaukee. We're going to switch to the Bucks and discuss the Bucks last week worth of games briefly, just because we want to spend more time on how we're going to adjust expectations with Giannis being out. So we want to spend more time on that. And then we're going to have Mike back, and we're going to discuss the Badgers' win against Penn State and loss to USC. So we're going to hit the intro and get going with Freddy Peralta.
Welcome to another episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we cover the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, and Badgers basketball and football teams from an optimistic and realistic perspective.
Alrighty, so let's start with Freddy Peralta. And Jake, just give me your initial thoughts. Like, as I was coming home from our basketball game last Wednesday, the rumors started popping up. So let's look at the Freddy Peralta trade, and then I'll go after you and talk about the common things.
Yeah, so the way that the Brewers have operated, obviously they traded a former Cy Young Award winner in Corbin Burns, and so it's no surprise that there was trade talks going around with Freddy Peralta. And unlike other sports, cough, talking about basketball, I actually trust the reports that come out from baseball insiders, MLB insiders, because those guys don't just put stuff out just to get clicks. They put stuff out when they have actual contextual data to go behind their claims. And there's been smoke behind Freddy Peralta being traded for a while. Lots of teams have been brought up. Boston, the New York Yankees, and New York Mets, obviously where he got traded to. The Dodgers. I mean, that's just some of the teams that he got mentioned to. I apologize in advance. I have a cold, so when I say like 15 words, I start to get that little scratch in the throat here. But basically what I think happened is the Brewers are like, okay, Peralta's going to be a free agent after this year. Even if they offer him $38 million, which is probably in the ballpark, which they were going to be able to offer him anyways, probably a little lower than that, I would think. Teams like New York Mets are going to come in and offer him $50 million. And if you're Freddy Peralta, you're going to take $50 million. You're not going to take $35 million. You're not going to take $30 million. You're not going to take $20 million. So, and rightfully so, he deserves to get paid. I feel the same way about, Willie Adames signing with the Giants. He deserves to get paid. He earned that paycheck, right? But the Brewers, they have concerns at shortstop. They're trying a bunch of people there. So they were like, okay, we want your top shortstop prospect. He also plays second base and center field. Said he's comfortable with either. He sounds like an absolute dog, by the way. You're going to have to drag him off the field. Yeah, he's definitely going to fit in with the culture of the Milwaukee Brewers, by the way. And then to get a good pitcher along with the trade, also he's keeping the mustache. If you vote to shave the mustache off, you are wrong. If you're in Milwaukee and you're a pitcher and you have nasty stuff, keep the stash. But to add to the pitching room, which they're already deep at, add to another guy who wants to play hard. He hits for a decent average, has a little bit of pop. He likes to steal bases. He's tough. He fits in with the culture of Milwaukee. It feels like a win-win for both teams. This is one of those trades that feels like a win-win for both teams, so I can't be upset. Nobody who is a fan of the Brewers should be upset. It's a win-win for both sides.
I have seen it described as a win-win, and I do agree. And before I even get into some of the common things about it, I just want to look at it. Freddy Peralta is going to be 30 in June, and he would also, I would say, coming off of his best season ever is what I would say, personally, looking at Freddy Peralta. And then you see that they also added Tobias Myers to the deal, which that to me was like, okay, I wish we could get a third player from the Mets. And apparently the Brewers were trying to get Jonah Tong out of the Mets, another one of their top prospects. But the Mets said no. So eventually the Brewers just kind of agreed to the 2 for 2. But looking at Tobias Myers, I don't think people are being honest with how much he kind of took a step back from how really good he was in 2024. In 2024, he had a 3.00 ERA and 138 major league innings. In 2025, he had a 3.77 ERA and 59 2/3 innings in AAA and a 3.55 in 50 2/3 in the majors. So he took a step back. And I feel like people are choosing to only kind of remember like rookie year Tobias Myers when he was throwing, 8 innings of shutout ball against the Tigers and stuff like that. But I think that's one of those times where it's like, okay, we are the optimistic show, but we're also the realistic show. And the realistic thing is that Tobias Myers wasn't as good in 2025 as he was in 2024.
Yeah.
Now, looking at Sproat and Jett Williams, Bleacher Report ranked the Mets number 4 in the farm system at the end of the 2025 season. So it's not like we're getting the number 4 and the number 10 prospect from the number 28 ranked farm system. The Mets farm system was ranked number 4 as of the end of last season. Brandon Sproat is their number 5 prospect. He has a 6-pitch mix. He has a 50% ground ball rate. He doesn't give up a lot of barrels or hard hit balls. He has a fastball and sinker combo that the velocity gets to 95, 96, close to 97 with an above average curveball. What does that sound like?
Freddy.
To me, it sounds like Quinn Priester a little bit.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
When you factor in the ground ball rate.
That's fair.
To me, that sounds like a guy like Quinn Priester, who is
fair.
a guy who, looking at Freddy Peralta, and we talked about this with Trage. That show will air tonight, so definitely tune into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. He brought up the fact that Freddy Peralta is going to be, for most part, a 4, 5, 6 inning type pitcher. The Brewers are looking for potentially to not have to put so much stress on their bullpen. Like even now, even after he's been traded to the Kansas City Royals, Nick Mears is warming up in the Brewers bullpen. So to have somebody who can go maybe 5, 6, 7 innings versus 4, 5, 6, if you take an inning a game off of a bullpen, you're talking about 162 innings at the end of the season.
Yep.
And obviously, the starters aren't giving you an extra inning every game, but let's say Sproat gives you an extra inning over what Freddy would give you. That's still 33 innings that you're potentially saving if he makes all of his starts. Freddy made 33 last year. That's why I use that number as an example. Mm-hmm. Then you look at Jett Williams. He was their number 3 prospect. So we got 2 top 5 prospects from a top 5 farm system. He hit 17 home runs in AA and AAA last year. What is the biggest thing that we're missing from the shortstop position? In my opinion, it's pop. Yes, batting average would be great, but it's pop, in my opinion. We need more home runs from that position.
From the lineup in general, honestly.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
He also drove in 52 runs batted in 130 games. He slashed 261, 363, 465 for an 828 OPS with 34 stolen bases, 34 doubles, had 76 walks to 131 strikeouts, which isn't bad. And then if you just look at his scouting reports, overall, he is just scouted as a very well-rounded player. So I really have nothing to complain about here.
Yeah.
But I may be the minority when you're looking at complaining.
Uh-huh.
And every single time the Brewers trade away somebody before they hit free agency, the first comment every single time, cheap owner, not serious, sell the team, cutting payroll, cheap owner. Yes, Freddy Peralta at 2025 and 2026 is a tremendous bargain at $8 million. However, look at Freddy Peralta's value. Fangraphs is a fantastic reference for this. This is the reference that I use. Fangraphs valued his 2025 season at $29 million. His 2024 season at 18.2, his 2023 season at 24, his 2022 season at 15.7, and his 2021 season at $31.9 million. So we've gotten basically 5 years and $118 million worth of value for Freddy Peralta for about $20 million. So there's an argument to be made there that Matt Arnold and back to David Stearns deserve a big-ass raise for saving the Brewers about $100 million, but you're going to throw a fit over 8. Now, he's going to cash in at the end of the 2026 season. Next year when the winter meetings are happening, I don't think they're going to get quite as close to the number of 50 million like Jake mentioned, but he's giving an example, so I understand where you're going with that.
Yeah.
Corbin Burns, his average annual deal at 30 was a 6-year, $210 million deal, an average of $35 million a season. Now, looking at just Corbin Burns, just his payroll and his cash money over the next 10 years, because you have to start with it because he's got $64 million in deferred money. So Corbin Burns over the next 5 years is going to be making almost $31 million until 2031. Then he's an unrestricted free agent. But starting in 2031, he gets $10 million, $10 million, and then 4 years of $11 million after that. So Corbin Burnes is getting paid $31 million for the next 5 years, and then $10 and $11 million for the next 6 years after that.
Damn.
Freddy Peralta, even if he gets something, say $27 million a year, you're looking at like a 4-year, $108 million deal. And that's conservative to put him at $27 million. I based that number on the 5 for 118 that the Brewers got out of him already in value when they were paying him about $20 million. So then the question comes up, why not try to extend him early? They did. They literally did. They offered him an early deal, so it felt like Freddy Peralta's been here forever because he has. He debuted almost 10 years ago. They also extended Aaron Ashby and Jackson Churio, too. That's how they kept Freddy Peralta 5 months away from being 30 when they traded Corbin Burnes just after turning 28. 3 months after he turned 28 is when they traded Corbin Burnes. They traded Josh Hader 4 months after he turned 28. They traded Devin Williams at 29. So an early extension saved the Brewers an almost $90 million in value from having to consider trading him probably 2 years ago. Now, before you say that Freddy Peralta is 29, and Josh Hader was 28, and Corbin Burnes was 28, and Devin Williams was 29. Well, they're all the same age. What good does that do the Brewers? Look at the years that they debuted. Freddy Peralta debuted at 21. Burnes and Hader debuted at 23, and Devin Williams debuted at 24. So there's 2 to 3 extra years of value that the Brewers got. Like I said, they could have had to trade him 2 years ago if they hadn't extended him earlier. So I don't want to hear that they're cutting payroll because they're cheap. No, this is how a small market team has to operate if you want to compete. Yeah. If you want to watch a team that's just cutting payroll to try to make money on their baseball team, go be a Marlins fan. Look at how much talent has walked out of that building.
Yeah.
With nothing in return.
I mean, one of the talents plays for our team.
And they tried at least to trade Yelich to get some value. I mean, when the Brewers traded for Yelich, we gave up some top prospects for him. They didn't pan out, but that's one example. The Brewers have traded Freddy Peralta, Devin Williams, Josh Hader, Corbin Burnes. I mean, the Brewers have done some deals to get back the prospects they have, not to mention absolutely dominating the international market, especially in the Caribbean.
Ricky Monies, dude. That guy's got to work out, dude. Yeah. He's got to work out.
So the next thing that I see is the Brewers were just in the NLCS. They obviously don't care about winning if they're trading their best pitcher. Would you rather see them in the NLCS and then be 25 years from making the playoffs again? That's what it went from. That's how long it took them to get back to the playoffs until 2008. And then everybody's like, oh, my God, we are finally back in the playoffs. I think people are taking for granted now the Brewers making the playoffs. 7 out of the last 8 years?
Yeah.
Taylor, welcome back. So the last 12 years, back to acquiring Freddy Peralta in 2014, they have gained relevance by signing, trading for, and flipping young players into more young players. That's how they've stayed competitive. Not by holding on to guys until the very last second and then watching them walk for nothing. That's not how they've gotten competitive. Taylor, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to do. Trying to get some perspectives out there. That's why I'm looking deeper at it. Because the face value that the Brewers don't care about winning, or they're just cutting payroll, and the other two things that one goes right into the other. So looking at trading Freddy Peralta, Tobias Myers, and Isaac Collins means that you're hoping for health. And it absolutely does. It does. You look at Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers coming out of your starting rotation, and then Isaac Collins coming out of left field. You're looking at Brandon Woodruff, and you're looking at Garrett Mitchell, saying if those two guys are healthy, these trades aren't going to hurt us at all.
Yeah, especially Garrett Mitchell. That would be nice. Especially
Garrett Mitchell. So you look at that, and Matt Arnold did say that Brandon Woodruff is having a normal offseason, and that fact played a part in being willing to trade Freddy Peralta. So, yes, you are hoping for health. And, as the GM and the fans, you and I are massive Garrett Mitchell believers.
Yes.
And, he's a 5-tool player if he can be healthy.
Yep.
So, obviously, it's questionable because they've had injuries. But this is where I come into the next part. And the fourth concern that I've seen is that the Brewers are always trading for prospects. When are these prospects going to start playing? I've seen this a lot, that the Brewers just trade for prospects, and A, that's how you keep your team young and hungry and have guys play together for multiple years. And B, you want to see what your prospects can do in the bigs, right? Then stop whining about trading established players.
Yeah.
So think about it. This is the way that I was like able to be like, okay, I see the vision. And yes, Taylor, years of control is absolutely a thing. And that's kind of where I was going with having guys play together for multiple years. Here's the thing that for me, I was like, okay, I see the vision, and I thought of it less as trading players, established players, and I thought about it as trading innings. So I'm taking kind of a Moneyball approach to it, that you're looking at trading Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers, freeze 226 innings pitched from last season that other guys will have to pitch. So that includes Mizorowski, that includes Logan Henderson, that includes Robert Gosser, that includes DL Hall, that now includes Brandon Sproat. I mean, Ashby, if they want to consider putting him back into the starting lineup, whatever. But also Brandon Woodruff, who didn't pitch until after All-Star break. So, I mean, you're looking at those guys and you're saying, can all of those guys combined give us 226 innings of, like, quality baseball? I don't see how you would look at that group of players and say that the answer is no. Like, yeah, you might not get a 2.70 ERA out of them, but you also might get a couple more innings out of your team, not have to overwork your bullpen so much.
It's fair.
And then you look at Isaac Collins. He played 121 innings last season in the outfield. So you're looking at Garrett Mitchell, you're looking at Akil Baddoo, you're looking at Brandon Lockridge, and you're looking at maybe Jett Williams, who has played some center field. So you're looking at those four guys, and you say, can those guys give us what a 26-year-old rookie gave us last year? That, too, the answer should be yes. Again, Isaac Collins, he had some fantastic moments last year, and he absolutely deserved to be in the Rookie of the Year race.
Yep.
He absolutely did. But you can't tell me that you're going to look at guys like just Garrett Mitchell alone and say, hey, can you give us 121 innings of he's probably going to play center field and they're probably going to put Churiel back in left, in my opinion.
I would agree.
But, I mean, you just say, like, hey, Garrett, can you give us 121 innings? That's like half of a season.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I don't understand how the answer wouldn't be yes to that question. Thank you, Reggie, for agreeing with me. So that's where I'm at with the Brewers. The common things that I've seen, and that's just where I wanted to discuss these things, honestly, more than I want to discuss the incoming prospects, is just how people are dealing with trading Freddy Peralta. So with that, we're going to stay in Milwaukee, and we're going to switch to the Bucks. Yes. And I know it's not something that we're super excited about, but we got to discuss it. Honestly, I want to run through the games pretty quick because I want to spend more time on adjusting expectations. Yeah. So I'm just going to throw out the couple things that I had from the Bucks loss to the Thunder because I really didn't take much away from this. Yep. But the two things that I really did want to kind of bring up is if Lou Dort and the Thunder can play all this pushing, shoving, grabbing, forearms in the back shit, AJ Green should not be getting called for setting a good hard screen. That to me is like, dude, are you watching what else is happening on this end of the floor?
Yeah.
The grabbing, the pushing, the pulling, the hooking, but you're going to call AJ Green for setting a hard screen?
Yep.
Wasn't an illegal screen in my opinion. Again, you can say that, oh, you're biased because you're a Bucks fan. Dude, if the physicality is being allowed one way, that's bullshit.
I think everybody who's a fan of sports would agree with that take.
Yeah. And then I literally wrote in all caps and bold, LOL, that Cason Wallace tried to shove Bobby Portis and he barely moved. Bobby Portis did give him a good bump, got a flagrant, but, I don't know that was a flagrant. I think it should have been just double technicals and you let it be. But yeah. It's just annoying the stuff that the Thunder get to be allowed to do but not have done to them.
Yep.
Anything you want to say about last Wednesday?
I think it's pretty much league-wide known that the Thunder get the best whistle in the NBA. On top of that, the couple things I took away is the Bucks just turned the ball over way too much and give up way too many points off turnovers. and the paint defense continues to be a problem. With Giannis, without Giannis, it doesn't matter. You cannot give up 58 points in the paint and only score 38 yourself. That is a recipe for being under 500 for the entire season. And that's really all I took away from that game is turnovers, conceding points off turnovers, and paint defense has been an issue the entire season.
Yeah. All right. Eric, welcome back. You just missed us talking about Freddy Peralta. Dang. Definitely go back and check it out, though, Eric.
Yeah.
All right, Bucks Nuggets. What did you take away from would be Friday night?
All right. Well, I get to talk normal on our show, not like on the radio. The Bucks had an opportunity to win a game, and they decided to shit down their goddamn leg the entire night. They literally could not get out of their own way, and I feel like I've been watching this in a loop the entire season. They do not understand how to not get in their own way, and it is frustrating because I feel like this team is better than their record. But they do some silly things at times, and, they just – shots were just not falling. I mean, they were getting good looks, and I mean, not to say that the Nuggets weren't getting good looks because the Nuggets were getting good looks as well. But the Bucks had so many opportunities to take control of this game, and every time momentum is looking the Bucks in the face, they just miss it. I guess swing and a miss, strike three. That's just how this year's gone, honestly.
Yeah, looking at it, Doc challenged a call 3 minutes into the game that should have turned a Gary Harris foul into a steal. But shocker, the hand is only part of the ball if the Bucks are dribbling or shooting.
Right.
If somebody else is doing it, Aaron Gordon, for example, who somehow gets a better whistle than Giannis does, then it's still a foul. Looking at it, it was good to see Cole Anthony get going a little bit. He had 7 points in the first quarter. The Bucks and Nuggets were tied at 21. The thing that I said when we were recording for the trade show is the Bucks can't keep digging themselves holes in the middle quarters and then trying to come back in the fourth.
Yeah.
It's not a recipe for success. It's not a good game plan, which nobody should have to be told that.
Yeah.
So digging themselves holes, the fact that they were still a Kyle Kuzma half-court heave away from winning this game is called a moral victory, I guess. The fact that they were down by 20-something in this game and lost by 2. Again, you're talking moral victories at this point. But the Bucks had 6 turnovers in the second quarter, 2 for 10 on threes at one point. Ryan Rollins was 1 for 4 on threes to start the game, so he was going really rough from the three-point line. It was good to see him finish 4 for 10 and have 40% of his threes go down. One of them being a super crazy step back at the end of the game to make this game a close game. So that was good to see. Miles Turner blocking everything that came near him. He had 6 of the Bucks, 8 blocks to go with 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. And then, yeah, like I said, just can't keep falling behind and hoping to come back. Obviously, the Bucks did lose Giannis in this game. So after we talk about 76ers, we're going to talk about adjusting our expectations. But with the Bucks and Nuggets, the Bucks did hold the Nuggets only 6 points off turnovers and 102 points. So those are good. The fact that they only scored 100 points is bad, but that takes us to last night's game where the Bucks, their offense was not the problem last night. 122 points is going to win you a lot of basketball games.
Yeah.
Giving up 139 points is going to lose you just about every basketball game that you're going to play. Brad, yes, the Bucks do own their pick this year. The only reason they can't trade their pick this year, so you'll hear people say the Bucks don't have control of their picks until 2031, is because in the even years they have pick swaps that can be made.
Yep.
So they will still have a pick. It's just Atlanta has the right to take the worst pick of the Bucks pick or the Pelicans pick.
And the Pelicans are like, okay, this is how I've been explaining it to people at work. The Pelicans are super ass. We're just sometimes ass.
Yeah. The Bucks are bad. The Pelicans are really bad.
Yeah.
Pelicans legit might have the number 1 pick, and then that's going to go to Atlanta because the Pelicans thought trading for DeJounte Murray was a good idea.
Well, then if the Clippers get the number 2 pick, doesn't that go to the?
Well, I think if it's outside the top 4, it goes to OKC. Or top 5, maybe.
That's what it was.
Something like that.
Top 4 protector or something like that.
It's protect. It might be top 8, but even still, if it ends up being the 9th pick and the Thunder get that pick too,
Jeez.
man. So yes, Brad, they do own this year's pick, which is going to be part of the discussion that we're going to have.
Yep.
Looking at Bucks and 76ers from last night, it was good to see Kuzma. I love how he played. He had a couple times where he got his pocket picked a little bit. But overall, he played very well, driving, kicking, distributing, playing downhill, hitting a couple threes. For him to have 17 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, and 2 turnovers, I'll take that all day from Kyle Kuzma. And thankfully, his injury wasn't serious. It was called a cramp after the game, so hopefully he's good to go for tomorrow night. Brad said, so tank and a little less than the Pelicans. That's absolutely right.
100%.
That's
a little less than the Pelicans. As long as we end up behind them.
Yeah, as long as your record's better than the Pelicans, I really don't care where they finish. Yep. Miles Turner, I loved seeing him being aggressive on both ends of the floor, but especially offensively. He played very well off of Kyle Kuzma and off of Ryan Rollins. He had 31 points on 10 of 16 shooting, 4 of 8 from 3, 7 of 8 from the free throw line. Added 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks. Ryan Rollins, other than one thing, I love how he played downhill. He made good decisions with his passes. He finished with 24, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks. But if I see Ryan Rollins try another 6'10" athletic dude in the paint and transition, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Damn. Like, you got the wingspan and you're capable of finishing, but you got to stop trying dudes who are that much bigger than you in the paint and transition.
I feel like, and I'm not trying to butt in if you're not done, but, I've been having the discussion of time and place with my son lately because he likes to mess around in class. And I'm talking about, like, hey, time and place. You should realize where you're at. And, if you're in a place where you can mess around, then go mess around. Do what you got to do. I'm not going to be mad at you for having fun. But Rollins, time and place, you are 6'3", 6'4", maybe on a good day. Maybe a 6'10" guy's not the time and place to try to finish in the paint. Maybe a 6'6" guy or a 6'8" guy. I'm okay with a 6'8" guy. 6'8" guy once in a while.
Because he's got the wingspan for it.
Yeah. But 6'10", 7 feet, maybe just leave that to Kyrie Irving since he's like the best finisher guard in NBA history.
Valid. Yeah. The last couple of things that I had were the ball movement looked great. I put it in all caps in my notes. Keep it that way. The Bucks assisted 29 of their 44 field goals, so I'll take that. If they're around 30 assists, that's a good place to be. Yes. The place that's not good to be is giving up 15 offensive rebounds and 31 second chance points and 17 points off turnovers. This is another game where Philly got 15 more shots than the Bucks, which is not ideal. And then the last thing, I know Trage texted us about this after the game because one of my things, which we'll get to in a second, we're going to talk about adjusting the expectations, is I'm surprised Pete Nance didn't play a little bit more. But when we get to how we're going to approach the trade deadline, I expect him to be playing a lot more a week from now. So what did you take away from last night before we discuss some expectations?
Well, just to piggyback off the Pete Nance stance real quick, Doc said after the game that he played Sims more because he thought he needed size in this game, which I could totally understand that mindset. But the way, and we were talking, you pointed it out, that Sims was just kind of all over the place last night, and you're giving up a bunch of offensive rebounds, and I know there's a young guy on the bench that maybe if he doesn't get the rebound every time, but he's going to give you effort and he's going to move around a little bit. I think I would have tried Pete Nance at some point in that game. That's just me personally. I'm not an NBA coach, but personally, I would have just tried the young guy that wants to get out there and rebound the ball.
Yeah.
Excuse me. As far as players go, I thought Kuzma was fantastic. This is what I'm going to want to see from him the rest of the year. When he went at Joel Embiid in transition and put his shoulder into him, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the guy I thought we were trading for right there.
Yeah.
That's the 6'9", 6'10" guy that can get downhill and finish with authority. Him just being a playmaker, a point forward on top of that is just also something I'm going to be looking forward to. I'm going to talk about Kuzma quite a bit, actually, coming up here. Bobby Portis, keep raising that trade stock, dude. That's all I'm saying, man. Another double-double for him, but he also is a rhythm stopper. There's no question about it. Bobby, I loved your time here, but, man, you do not fit this current Bucks team and their vision that they're trying to go with. Miles Turner was fantastic on both ends. There was times last night when I was watching, I was like, he might be the best two-way player on the floor at this moment in time. There was points.
I would honestly, I could see that being the case just because Embiid is capable of being that, and so is Maxey. But just looking at last night specifically,
yes.
I don't think I would disagree with you if you wanted to claim it just for last night's game.
I was going to say, Embiid in the first quarter was pretty clearly the best player on the floor in the first quarter. But if we're talking totality of the game,
yep,
I would maybe Miles Turner. He was pretty good last night. Maybe rebound a little bit better, but he played good paint defense for the most part when he had a chance to in the half. That's the thing about this team, bro. I mean, I can go on for hours and hours. Their half-court defense actually isn't bad. It's just the goddamn transition stuff and turning the gosh dang ball over. It's just infuriating. But Ryan Rollins, dude, now you already touched on his non-ability to finish in the paint. His decision-making just has to be better. A guy that is under the tutelage of one Rajon Rondo, I know that we rag on Bobby Portis, but the layup that got you talking and got me, looking at my TV like, brother, was when he went into the paint and there was a Sixer behind him, and I forgot who was in front of him, but he missed the layup, and Bobby Portis is literally standing in the left corner wide open. That is literally Bobby Portis' hot spot. That is his corner. That is Bobby's corner. Rajon Rondo is kicking that out 100 out of 100. 100 out of 100. So that is where Rollins' game, that is the next level for him, is to understand to kick that out. Yes, you need to have the threat of scoring. But having the threat of scoring and allowing your guys to score is what the good point guards do.
The court vision.
Yes. So that is the next step for Ryan Rollins. The defense just all around. I mean, dude, they let Paul George make jump shots last night. What the f is going on? Is this 2018, bro?
Yeah.
Joel Embiid and Paul George are making shots. I don't know what was going on last night, but zero defense from both teams, in my opinion.
Yeah. Tanisha asked if the Packers are good or bad. They're good. They're good. We'll get into the Packers a little bit more in the coming weeks as free agency approaches after the Super Bowl, but we want to get into adjusting the expectations. And this is the part we wanted to spend a little bit more time on in the games. So looking at it, the reality check for the Bucks is that the identity is going to shift without Giannis on the floor. We should expect some short-term inconsistency, and then that there is a difference between adjustment of expectations and panic.
Yes.
Panic would be approaching the trade deadline and being like, okay, we got to trade Giannis, otherwise we're never going to be good again, which is, it seems like how people feel that the Bucks are going to be. And then you get the report. Fucking Shams, dude. Giannis is open to the thought of possibly accepting trade options possibly before the February 5th deadline or this summer. Let's get this out of the way. The Bucks aren't trading Giannis in the next week and a day. He's not getting traded before the trade deadline. Nobody's going to look at the Bucks and say, oh, we can trade for Giannis. We're going to give them every single thing we could possibly give them. They're going to look at the Bucks and say, Giannis is hurt. We're going to pay for damaged goods. So we're going to give you a little bit less. The Bucks need to hold on to Giannis, and if he doesn't sign an extension in the summertime, then you consider trading him when the other 29 teams are all thinking, hey, we have a chance because the season hasn't started yet. Right now, just by looking at the standings alone, you can probably rule about 10 teams out. Then you look at the salary and the payroll and stuff like that, and you probably rule out about another 15 teams. So you're looking at about 4 teams who maybe have a realistic shot, and out of those 4, maybe 2 are going to give you something you'd even remotely consider accepting, and then they're going to go, hey, we're going to take out this and this because Giannis is hurt. So you say no to that because you don't have to. He's whole ass under contract for next season. The Bucks are not backed into a corner here. So you don't have to do that. You don't have to panic and be like, oh, shit, Giannis is hurt. We're going to be bad. No. You look at your picks. Like Brad said before, you just have to not be worse than the Pelicans. That's the only thing you have to do. You can be the second worst team in the league as long as you're not worse than the Pelicans this year. You get a high draft pick in a good, loaded draft, and then you say to Giannis, hey, here's what we can do. Would you like to sign an extension? And then if he says no, then you hold a bidding war with 29 teams. So you don't need to panic as we're discussing expectations. So looking at the identity of the Bucks, I would like it to be effort, hustle, defense. And then just looking at, the short-term inconsistency, Giannis has one of the highest usage rates in the NBA. There's going to be an adjustment period to that. starting with last night, it looked like Kyle Kuzma was the guy who was going to get a large influx of that usage rate, as well as Miles Turner and probably a little bit of Ryan Rollins. But just looking at the reality of the situation, Jake, what are you kind of looking at with the identity shift, the short-term inconsistency, and the adjustment versus panic?
Yeah, so I'll start with the adjustment and panic real quick. So people that panic and the people, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, the ones that are saying we have to trade Giannis or we're never going to be good again are the same ones that complain and freak out in the middle of a game when the Bucks give up an 8-2 run or a 12-0 run and be like, well, this game's over with. They're never coming back from this. Those are the same people. So I want you guys not just to get educated on the situation that the Bucks are in, but get educated on the people that you're having discourse with, because that matters a lot. And the people that are okay with adjusting expectations, like Tyler and myself, are people that are going to be able to take a step back, zoom out, like we've said 15 million times on the show, and be able to be like, okay, so obviously for the players, I'm going into my identity shift point now. The players, it's going to be hard for professional athletes to not think about wins and losses. And that's how I want it to be. I want competition. But for the fans and for the front office, the thing that we have to do, and the only thing we're allowed to do, is we're going to have to look, okay, how can this team improve going into next year while still developing young talent? That's the things that we have to do. And there is a large group, and I mean a large group, of younger Bucks fans that were not around for the 15-win season.
Yeah.
That were not around for the 40-42 Milwaukee Bucks when Brandon Jennings said Bucks in 6 and they got swept by the Miami Heat. They were not around for the Tim Thomas Bucks or the Ray Allen Bucks or the George Karl Bucks, whatever you want to call them. They were not around for that. They don't understand what this team used to be. They just know the Giannis Bucks from 2017 to 2025. Now it's 2026. We're in a different situation. They don't know them.
Taylor remembers.
You know, I think those are the good old days too. I have a lot of good memories, a lot of fond memories. I mean, Bobby Simmons. I mean, Tyler and I can go on. We've had extra episodes, bonus episodes, we like to call them back then. We'll get into more of that stuff as time goes on here. But
I got a whole bunch of red and green Bucks stuff.
Yeah,
I got John McLaughlin and Jim Paschke down there too.
No, who do I got right here? I got it.
Taylor said Delfino. Oh man, yeah. Back when we had JJ Redick for a year and he didn't want to be here. Yeah, good times.
Hey, Carlos Delfino, bro, you better call him by the correct name. I mean, I have my 2004-2005 Bucks team photo when I went to Fan Appreciation Day, always hanging up in this room right here.
Nice.
Looking at a bunch of random old players. I mean, young Bogut, dude. I mean, just a ton of people. But the point remains, all we can do is try to look at this team and how they're going to improve. You going on Twitter and complaining and saying this team sucked, you're not doing anything good, okay? Yeah. So as we adjust our expectations for this team, the only thing we do is be positive and try to think of ways that this team can improve.
Yeah. And that's what we're going to do. I mean, like I said, with the difference between adjustment and panic, you and I, the rest of the conversation that we're going to have with this is going to be based on reasons and logic and not just saying fire everybody and trade everybody.
Yeah.
Taylor, you better put some respect on Dan Gadzarich.
Hey, man, he had that one playoff game against freaking Atlanta, bro. He was going crazy.
50. That dude was Jericho Sims before Jericho Sims existed.
Hell yeah, he was, except he had a fro. He had long-ass shorts on, dude.
He was super ugly, too.
Not good.
Okay, so looking at basically what the – hey, if you're a super fan, Taylor, you should know how to spell Gadzarich. I mean, Darvin Ham was a player at that time, not just a coach.
Think about that.
So looking at it, what remains achievable, looking at culture, players, the new goal. I'm going to say this first, just because I know we had this discussion as well, and how it focuses on the trade deadline, looking at how you and I both agree that they should focus on getting some younger players if they can, and getting more picks for this upcoming draft to give them some more bites at the apple when it comes to the 2026 draft. Now, what I think they should do to address that, and Brad said it, I'm not necessarily saying to tank, but I think that the Bucks need to shut Giannis down for the rest of the season. And we talked about this on the show with Trage. The reason I want to shut Giannis down is because it's not like he had the calf injury in December and then had a shoulder sprain in late January. He had a calf injury in December, and he's got another calf injury in January, and it's not the opposite legs. It is 2 injuries to the same calf in the same leg.
Yep.
We have seen several calf injuries in very recent memories turn into Achilles tears. We just saw it happen to our team last April when Damian Lillard went from a calf strain to an Achilles tear. It happened to Tyrese Halliburton. It happened to Kevin Durant when he was on the Warriors, that a calf injury turned into an Achilles tear, and that is not what I want for Giannis, because then his next season extension, if you're gonna try to trade him in the summer, good luck trying to trade somebody who's gonna miss the final year of their contract.
Look at what happened with Damian Lillard. I mean,
Then you're looking at, we're not trading for 5 years of Giannis. We're trading for 4 years of Giannis, and one of them we have to pay him $60 million for him to not play.
Yep.
Teams will just offer you dog shit trades or offer you nothing and hope that they can sign him in free agency the following summer.
Yep.
So in my opinion, Giannis needs to be shut down so his calf injury doesn't turn into an Achilles tear.
Yes.
Unless you already know that he's going to be signing his extension, but I don't know why you would be knowing that now and not already doing it, as soon as October 1st rolls around. But again, that still screws you for next year if you're going to have him playing for the Bucks until he retires. So this year, I mean, not that it's not possible, being the optimist, it's not that it's not possible that the Bucks can go on a run and have a 2019 Kawhi year where Giannis just carries the team he's capable. But the risk to me is not worth it. It's not worth trying to risk Giannis's 2026, 2027 season to try to go on a Cinderella run as the 10 seed in the play-in. Or, even if they could get up to top 6.
Yeah.
So what remains achievable is that the young guys that can be here can reset the culture for the guys that were going to come in. So if we're talking about adding young players and draft picks, looking at guys like Ryan Rollins, AJ Green, Miles Turner, you and I talked before the show, we agree that we don't want to trade Kyle Kuzma. But those guys can set the culture for the incoming players that are going to come here in the next, the draft is going to be in June, so the next 6 months, call it.
Yep.
Taylor, yes, well-needed rest too. That's another way to look at it. So looking at that, what expectations need recalibration? I mean, looking to just try to get in and then above the play-in to shifting now. I'm looking at stacking young prospects and draft assets, maybe some expiring contracts so that you have more money available this summer. I could see something like that to free up some money so you can say, okay, Giannis, we're going to have a lottery pick and we're going to have like $35 million to spend. So do you want to stick around and play with that? That's the kind of things that I'm looking at. And then I'm just looking at process-based benchmarks instead of record-based to track the progress. And I know you just kind of mentioned that as well. So the process-based stuff, I want to see Ryan Rollins get better at handling ball pressure. I want to see Miles Turner in the posts more, and I want to see Pete Nance get better on defense. So those are some of the process things that I'm looking for. But what new goals are you looking for the Bucks?
Apologize, I'm on mute. My dog is going crazy right now. Somebody's overseeing, talking to Chantel. So, new goals I'm looking at. So, I want the Bucks. This is going to sound kind of crazy. I want the Bucks to go full youth movement, just like the Packers did a couple years ago, after the falling short of the Super Bowl with Rodgers and Devontae, and going through all that process. And the Packers had to go through a year where they just literally. They did what people are accusing the Brewers of doing, where they cut down the salary and they went full youth movement. The Bucks are in that situation too, where they have to go full youth. Just whatever you can get, whatever you can trade guys for. We're going to talk about trade deadline eventually, but whatever you could trade people for, go get it out of here. Give me some young talent. We'll redo the books. I would prefer them if they're going to go full youth movement. I want players that are established defenders because I want the identity of this team to be defensive. Look at the Thunder. And in every league, NFL, MLB, well, can't really do it in MLB because nobody has Dodgers money. But my point remains is that it's a copycat league, right? In every single league. They say that all the time. And the Thunder right now are the team to copy. Get a bunch of young players, defensive-minded team. They have one superstar that goes and gets buckets. They share the ball. That's what the Bucks should be trying to do. So that's what I'm looking at. And looking at the culture, I don't want to be too rude, but it's pretty hard to establish a culture when ESPN, I'm not going to say the four-letter company, when ESPN is actively trying to kick Giannis out of Milwaukee. This is not the first time this fucking season. This is about the 19th time this season. And Kendrick Perkins was on there, God, what was that? Like last week, Thursday or some shit. And he said, I'm sick and tired of talking about Giannis. I literally commented and said, then stop talking about him. Tell your boss you don't want to talk about
down, but I agree with you.
It's like, yeah, we're sick and tired of you talking about him too. You think I give a shit about your opinion? You weren't that good of a player. Why would I think you're a good GM? Get the hell out of here with that crap.
And I commented on something too. Somebody's like, oh, what? I'm like, the report also came from Shams, and the person said, oh, what does that mean? And I'm like, he reports this every other week.
And you know the thing about his wording that I find funny that people fall for it is before the season started, it was the Bucks are going to look to trade. Giannis is open to being traded between now and the trade deadline. And now because we're at the trade deadline, Giannis is okay with being traded by the trade deadline or this summer. And then in the summer, it's going to be Giannis is okay with being traded by the trade deadline. It's like every 6 months he hedges his bet. He just keeps hedging the bet, and people keep falling for this junk. I don't understand why people don't see what's going on.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So looking at some potential silver lining stuff, some expanded roles, some lineup experimentation. Obviously, we've kind of touched on this a little bit already, but I expect Ryan Rollins to get much more experience for the rest of this season. They should force feed him the ball in his hands as much as possible. I expect some more playing time for Pete Nance, especially after Bobby Portis is traded, because I do think that is something that's going to happen for the trade deadline. Somebody out there is going to see Bobby Portis as a power forward that they can add to their roster and a three-point shooter. Obviously, a past six-man of the year candidate. So, and to your point of adding defense, I could still see the Bucks doing the Bobby and Gary Trent Jr. or Gary Harris expiring contract player for Malik Monk and Keon Ellis. I think that's still something they can do. I did see this morning that the Bucks were still potentially interested in adding somebody like Zach LaVine, somebody who is making more than their kind of contract deserves, but I'm open to that as well. And then some lineup experimentation. I want to see Pete Nance and Miles Turner play together a little bit. And then I want to see Miles Turner and AJ Green a ton. We did see them a little bit last night, running some screens off of each other and stuff like that. I want to see more of that. And then obviously we saw Miles Turner, Rollins, Miles Turner, and Kuzma have some really good stuff going on. So looking at expanded roles, lineup experimentation, what are you kind of looking for there?
Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I don't sniffle or cough or anything on there. So expanded roles. So players I'm looking at. So Kyle, he will now be looked at as a true point forward / scorer. He's going to have to fill those shoes that Giannis was filling previous. So he's going to be asked to do more. Miles Turner, he'll need to be a lead on both ends, more so on defense with Giannis out. So what we've been getting from Miles Turner the last couple of games is what we should want or need the rest of the year if we're going to win some games and maybe scrape into the play-in. If they make the play-in, excuse me real quick. If they make the play-in and say they win a game or two in the playoffs, I'm going to call that a win, to be honest with you, especially if they shut Giannis down.
Where we're sitting on January 28th, yes.
Yes. With Ryan Rollins, you have to force him to be a good playmaker and show and improve his basketball overall IQ. I wrote down basketball IQ is the number one goal for Ryan Rollins.
I'm with that.
You literally lock him and Rajon Rondo in a gym for the next 3 months and say, figure it out, Rajon. And if Rajon Rondo can figure that out and Ryan Rollins wins most improved player of the year, he's going to get some coaching calls.
he should get our coaching call.
I agree.
But I've said that already.
I know. With Kevin Porter Jr., I would like to see them utilize him more as a number one scoring option. I feel like he scores not because he's the number one scoring option, but because he can score. He gets to that mid range. You understand what I'm saying when I say that?
I feel like he's the number one option when it feels like the Bucks are having trouble scoring, and then there's like pressure involved.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm trying to say. But I would like it if he didn't always have to score in those situations. If he can get some easier buckets, you know what I mean?
Yep.
In terms of lineups, I want more lineups. I have 2 2-man lineups and 1 5-man lineup. I want more lineups with Kuzma and Miles Turner. I think there's a lot of potential there. They play at a pretty good pace, and I would like more of them at the 4 and 5. Now, with that being said, you're going to have to find a true 3 because AJ Green, we've seen, has struggled as a 3. But I want more Kuzma and Miles Turner lineups.
I'm in for that.
Rollins and Nance, there's a very small sample size. They've only played 17 minutes together, but I think Rollins and Nance could be a very interesting duo. Nance has showed that he has outside touch with his G League numbers, and Rollins has showed the ability to kind of score from the 3 areas on the floor. So I think them together would be really good. Plus the pace that they played in those 17 minutes was 108.63. That's really good. That's the pace that the Bucks need to be at normally, in my opinion, with the roster that they have, because their half-court offense outside of Giannis. I'm just going to be honest with you. So the 5-man lineup I want to talk about is Rollins, Green, Kuzma, Nance, and Miles Turner. I really like that lineup. You get hustle. You get 3 guys that are guaranteed defense. You get 4 guys that are knockdown shooters. The guy that really struggles the most without Giannis on the floor is AJ Green because of the how much attention Giannis attracts. AJ Green gets a lot of open shots with Giannis. He shoots a very efficient percentage with Giannis on the floor. He only shoots 38% with him off the floor, which he only shoots from 3, so 38% is still pretty good from 3.
Right.
So that is the 5-man lineup I would really like to see a lot more of, especially closing games is where my mindset was. I want to see them in the last 5 minutes in the clutch time.
Yeah. Milwaukee sucks. Wisconsin is trash. Here's my advice. No, not listening to that. Moving on. Just addressing some YouTube comments that Milwaukee sucks, Wisconsin's trash, and then here's what they should do. I have no interest in listening to that opinion. Which as the host I can do. Moving on to what changes on the floor for the Bucks. The primary creators, the usage increases, and whose responsibilities increase the most. Looking at creators, we saw last night it was Rollins and Kuzma, and then a little bit of AJ Green and Miles Turner, not necessarily the creators, but Rollins and Kuzma are going to be the 2 primary creators without Giannis. The usage increases is obviously going to be Rollins. Kyle Kuzma again. I'd like to see some more Pete Nance on the floor and maybe some Ajax. I think if you look at the young players that the Bucks have, I would probably toss Ajax into that group as well. And then whose responsibilities increase the most? I go to Rollins and Kyle Kuzma. So anything else you want to say on those guys?
Yeah, so I actually took down their usage rate with and without Giannis. And Rollins' usage rate with Giannis is 21%. Without him is 28%. So that's a pretty big jump. Kuzma goes from 19% to 24%. And I wrote down Miles Turner as well. He goes from 17% to 21% without Giannis. So those 3 guys are going to be major keys for the rest of the year. We're going to have to see how those 3 gel. And those are going to be the guys that at the trade deadline, those are going to be the 3 guys that I think the Bucks are going to want to keep as like the cornerstones of this team going forward. So in terms of what players' responsibility increased the most, I only wrote down one guy. I wrote down Kyle Kuzma. He's going to be asked to guard 1 through 4. Maybe 5 sporadically at sometimes. He's not really going to guard 5s too much, but maybe in transition he gets matched up with a 5 every once in a while. And he's going to be asked to be the guy responsible for forcing and finishing fast break opportunities because that's something that Giannis usually does for us. So he's going to have a lot of responsibility on his play, but we're going to find out a lot about Kyle Kuzma over the next couple months.
Yeah. Taylor asked why we don't play Ajax anymore. Honestly, I just don't. He's got energy, and that's about all that's translated to the NBA level. He's never really developed a jump shot like we kind of hoped maybe he could. So, I mean, he's got energy, and that's pretty much what he brings.
He can't dribble. He can't shoot. and he has a very hard time defending without fouling. So pretty hard to play a guy that doesn't do those things.
To that point, also, it makes it really easy for teams to play basically 5-on-4 defense.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
You know, if you camp Ajax in the corner, they can hide a bad defender on him. So last couple things, looking at just what's next is, you know, kind of what we're looking for in the next week, starting with tomorrow night at Washington, Sunday at Boston, Tuesday versus Chicago. You know, we're getting kind of what I think we should do is a bit of like an emotional reset. So we understand being disappointed that Giannis is going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks, and our opinion should be the rest of the season. It's okay to be disappointed about not being able to see Giannis anymore. You can focus on resilience. You know, to your point, it's going to be hard asking a professional athlete not to care as much about the end result of the game, the final score, as it is about building good habits, setting a good culture, you know, getting better every day. So like focusing on the resilience of it. And, you know, Jake and I are having this conversation that you can still enjoy watching the games. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, the Bucks are suck, so I don't even want to watch it anymore. Like, you can still have fun watching the Bucks. It's like Jake and I just talked about back in the purple and green and the red and green days. We still enjoyed watching Bucks basketball, even though those teams were not good. Yeah. Those teams didn't even really have a long-term outlook to them until the Bucks drafted Giannis and then Jabari Parker and then switched up the colors. And, you know, now we're here 10 years later. And just the last couple things, you know, keeping expectations realistic, but focusing on some of those other things. Like I said, the growth, the culture, the habits, that type of thing. So, Jake, as we reset the emotions and look at what's next, what are you looking for as we move forward?
So the final thing I'll say is most of this stuff with adjusting your expectations is going to be with eye test. Things that you're looking at are the Bucks connected on defense, right? That's something that needs to be more consistent. And did the Bucks turn the ball over 17 times, 3 games in a row? Like, that's something that needs to stop as well.
Yeah.
So most of this is just going to be eye test. Is Rollins' decision making improving? Is AJ Green's on-ball defense and handle becoming better? I already talked about team defense. Can Nance handle the physicality of the NBA? That's something that remains to be seen. Running sets to set up shooters. I mean, I feel like we only run that stuff out of timeouts. Why don't we ever set up a play to set up a shooter more consistently? Why does AJ
do a little bit with AJ Green, but it's mostly just like dribble handoff or like one screen away.
Exactly. So like I need more creativity with setting up shooters. I feel like when the Bucks are going good and the offense is flowing, is in the fast break. That's literally how they found Gary Trent Jr. a couple of times last night to set him up for some wide open threes, and he made them, to his credit. So it's mostly just going to be eye test and things that you're going to want that you've seen the Bucks struggle at consistency wise. I honestly feel like watching this Bucks team is like watching the Badgers football team this year, where it's like I feel like they're better than their record. I really do. Also, injuries suck.
Yeah, that's valid. Yeah, that's definitely some good stuff, and I look forward to hearing how you look at the team as we move on, and obviously as my notes, you know, look over the next 3 months as we go through the rest of the season. But we'll see what happens between now and next Thursday. If anything super drastic happens next Thursday, we'll probably do some sort of emergency show. But yeah, the trade deadline is next Thursday. I don't expect anything super drastic to happen, but I do expect the Bucks to sell a little bit more than they buy.
Yes.
All righty. So we're going to hit the transition, and we're going to welcome Mike in and talk some Badger basketball.
Yes, sir.
All righty, Mike. Welcome back. So we're going to start with the Badgers and Penn State. Unfortunately, we did have a good news then bad news situation with the Badgers this week. So we have the win before the loss. But, Mike, let's start with you and the guards against Penn State last week.
Yeah, great win for sure. In comparison, you know, we scored 98 points this game. But my guy, to his standards, Nick Boyd, I would say, again, for his standards, it might not have been his greatest game, I would say, this week. Or for this game, 21 minutes, 11 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, did get 3 turnovers, unfortunately. Right in the beginning of the game, he was caught stepping on the sideline. That was an immediate turnover. And he also got in some foul trouble, too, in the first half, which kind of prevented him from getting going a little bit. But he still had some nice transition buckets. I think it was Andrew Rohde who got him twice, I think, for a couple of his buckets throughout the game. So, but no, still fine. Still contributing by all means. Still had an okay game. But no, we had other guys in this game, obviously, that you guys are going to be talking about that definitely stood out. So that's all good there. And then we got Jack Janicki. Played 18 minutes this game, and actually, he found other ways to contribute, right? So he had 3 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. Pretty darn good. If you're not going to score, you have a stat line like that showing that you're going to be a part of the game, a relevant part of the game, right? So actually given – I know he's not making shots this year, but again, if you can contribute in other ways, we'll keep you in the lineup, right? So, and then it was good to see Zach Kinzinger, my boy Kins, finally getting some, hitting some threes for us. He did only get 9 minutes. I wish that would bump up a little more, as you guys know. But he was 2 for 4 from the 3-point line. He also got 1 rebound, 1 assist. I still believe that he belongs out there. I know there's a fair amount of criticism with his size and whatnot, at least as of right now. But no, I think in terms of, taking care of the ball and playing against once in a great while, some of the teams like best defenders too, and vice versa, I think he still belongs out there at the end of the day. And I still, at some point, I do hope he does, get more legitimate opportunities, like when there's a game on the line. We're going to find that out at some point as we continue on through the season, but a nice night for him. And Hayden Jones also got some PT, 8 minutes, 2 points, not too much, but still good to get the reps for these bench guys. But I thought one of the biggest call-outs, big picture, we did not have one single starter go over 30 minutes in this game, which I think is awesome because, basically how it stands now, especially after this last game, we can basically count on 7 guys that are going to be playing a good chunk of minutes. I think it's fair to say going forward. So if you can rest your starters to play under 30 minutes in a game, we're going to take that all day. So props to these boys for getting the job done and early on in the game too, for the most part.
Yeah.
43% from 3 once again. I think that's the 3rd or 4th game in a row that we shot over 40%. So that's good. And I also wanted to call out last statistic, 25 assists in this game. That's incredible in comparison to 11 for Penn State. Took care of the ball. We shared the ball. And I'll end it at that. It was a great win.
Yeah. And, to that point, like you said, this game was over way before it was over. The 98 points that they scored was the most in a road game since 1962. We obviously went through 30 years of we're going to grind it out and try to win 60 to 58. But winning 98 to 71 is refreshing. And looking at John Blackwell, he had 5 points of a 7-0 run after the Badgers started 1 for 7 from the field. So they got off to a really slow start in this game, still scored 98 points. And then looking at it, John Blackwell scored or assisted on 10 of the Badgers' first 12 points. So looking at the 17 points that he had in basically 3/4 of the game, on 5 of 10 shooting, 3 for 7 from the 3, and made all 4 of his free throws with 5 assists, 3 rebounds, and 0 turnovers. The super consistent thing about the Badgers during their 5-game winning streak, looking at John Blackwell, has been 3 to 5 assists and 0 turnovers. He's gotten the turnover thing under control. Unfortunately, I can't say the same. It's going to be a very, very, very drastically contrasting when we get to USC. Andrew Rohde, I feel similarly about how when Mike talks about Jack Janicki, if you're not going to score, do other stuff. Andrew Rohde did score some points in this game. He was 3 of 7 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3. He had 9 points, 6 assists, which is awesome. No turnovers, and he did have 2 rebounds. I'd like to see him get 4-ish. If you're going to be playing 25 to 28 to 30 minutes, I feel like you should be able to get more than 2 rebounds.
Well, he also had a bloody chin, so don't forget about that.
He did have a bloody chin, too. I love seeing hustle.
That was a sick play. Yeah.
And then Braden Carrington, he scored 9 out of a 16-3 run at one point the Badgers had. He hit 2 threes and 3 free throws, made an insanely deep three-pointer before halftime, had 17 points. All of them came in the first half. Penn State had 22 points at that time.
Yep.
Which was awesome. The 17 points that he scored came in 16 minutes. He was 5 of 7 from the field, 4 of 6 from the three-point line, made all 3 of his free throws, and added 4 rebounds. If you're giving me 17 points and 4 rebounds in 16 minutes, that's insane efficiency.
Yeah.
But the Badgers in the first half ran 7-0, 13-0, and 17-1 runs in the first half alone. And like I said, this game was over way before it was over. So, Jake, what'd you take away from the bigs?
Yeah, so just to piggyback on the point of the Badgers really needed to beat the shit out of somebody. Their 4 wins in a row coming into this game were all close, grinded out games. Michigan, understandably, Rutgers was closer than it should have been. UCLA, the refs kind of kept them in the game. I mean, and then the game winner against Minnesota, where we were kind of inflicting our own pain, not making free throws at the end there. But they had 4 grinded out wins. They needed to beat the crap out of somebody. So this was a feel-good game for them. Bielawskis didn't really need to have much impact, but I will say I like that in his 19 minutes, he showed a lot of physicality. He's really starting to understand the physicality of the Big Ten and starting to respond to that in a positive way. So I love seeing that. That's something I took away. Nolan Winter is an NBA player. He can shoot the outside shot. He's not super efficient with it. He'll get better with it. He can finish down low. He runs the fast break. He rebounds the ball well. I mean, when you have a guy that can block a shot and then run down the floor and finish an and one layup, you're like, yep, that 7-footer, whether drafted or not, he will make an NBA team. There 7-footers that do that don't just grow on trees, okay? And they have NBA roster spots. So Nolan Winter, very, very underappreciated. I'm going to say that right now. So next year, if he leaves, you people that are talking trash about him online, especially after the last game, I saw some crazy shit. Very underappreciated. Going into Austin Rapp, holy crap. He finally made a 3-pointer, bro. My God. I don't know who needed it more, himself or the Badgers fan base, honest to God. But one of them needed it very badly. So nice to see him make a shot. 10 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. He passed the ball well. So that was a little surprising for me that he was passing the ball so well. Will Garlock got a couple minutes, 4 rebounds, assists, 2 points. He's kind of he's an interesting guy. I don't know how to project his future, but the Badgers get a big time win, 5 W's in a row, and they move on to USC.
I see Will Garlock as a future Chris Vogt.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Kind of how I see it. All right, Jake, stick with the bigs and go into USC.
Yeah, this game was interesting. So USC, the Badgers had a decent-sized lead, double-digit lead. Bielawskis, 18 minutes, 1 point, 6 rebounds. I mean, he didn't make any field goals from the field, but I feel like once USC got back in the game, the Badgers weren't really running their offense. They were kind of pressing. And, you know, you could say the same about Nolan Winter. And Nolan Winter, 2 for 6 from the outside, missed two 3-pointers on one possession. That one possession, they got like 6 offensive rebounds, 5 of 13 from the field overall. But they played with good strength. It's just USC, I forgot the guy's name. What's the guy, the point guard's name? Whatever, nuance. He was shooting his floaters from like 17 feet away, dude. So, like, what are the bigs supposed to do at that point? They can't guard anybody. And then when he was getting into the paint and getting their attention, he's just dropping it down, and that's why they're giving up points. What was the guy's name? Asur?
Baker Mazzara?
Yeah. Oh, Baker Mazzara was dropping it down to Asur, and that's how he got his 17 points because the big men are in a situation guarding 2-on-1.
He was a big
better on-ball defense. And I'm not gonna try to steal your thunder, Mike, but something I said on the Sports on the Go with Trage is I thought that the Badgers should have switched Nick Boyd with John Blackwell on Baker Mazzara. They should have put Blackwell with a little bit more size, a little bit more strength. I think that would have fixed some things on defense. And it wasn't like Blackwell was in foul trouble or anything. He only had 2 fouls. So you at the end of that game, you could have put more size and strength on him and told Blackwell to figure it out at that point. Because they were attacking Nick Boyd. And Boyd is not known for defense. And he's a pretty small guy, let's be honest.
No.
And you're guarding a 6'7" guy who's 26 years old now.
Yeah.
I mean,
hey, I think. Happy birthday, Baker.
Was it Monday? I think, yeah.
I mean, think about it. Would have been nice for Nolan Winter to get a double-double. Could have used it in this game. He has 8, which ranks second in the Big Ten. Other than that, I mean, it is what it is.
So I said with the Penn State game that it was a very tale of two games for John Blackwell. Looking at the first half, him and Nick Boyd kept Wisconsin afloat when the team wasn't shooting well in the first half. And then you get to the second half, and he couldn't get anything to go. Couldn't get threes, couldn't get mid-range, missed a couple of layups even, like that possession that Jake referenced with all the rebounds. Blackwell had a bunch of them. He finished 3 of 13 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3, did make his 4 free throws, had 9 rebounds, which is good. But 5 turnovers, something that he kept very low during the 5-game winning streak. So that to me was something that stood out as like, hey, this is where Blackwell is struggling. Obviously, not making shots is one thing, but also compounding it with turnovers is pretty rough.
Yeah.
Andrew Rohde hit a couple threes in the first half. Those were the only shots that he made. He was 2 for 7 from 3, 2 for 10 from the field. He was trying to get downhill. He just couldn't find the layup package to get any of them to go in. And then from the three-point line, he had plenty of open looks. And it's been discussed the last couple of weeks, like, hey, we need Andrew Rohde to be more aggressive with his shot. We need him to be more aggressive with his shot. You know, we're scoring tons of points, but a guy who could be more aggressive is Andrew Rohde, and he's not been taking those shots. And then we get to USC, and he's got 7 threes, and he only made 2.
Yep.
And then you look at Braden Carrington. He didn't start well shooting, but he still stayed active on the rebounds in the first half. Looking at the second half, he got 3 free throws and hit a 3 to give Wisconsin their 12-point lead, their biggest lead of the game. And then guard played Austin Rapp over him for most of the rest of the game for size. So Carrington only ended up playing 17 minutes, shot 1 of 5, made 3 out of 5 free throws, had 6 points, 3 rebounds, and a block. But looking at this game, Jake talked about the end of the Penn State game where it was great to see Rapp making some threes. And then this game, USC is just daring Austin Rapp to shoot. And he shot again and again and again, probably 4 threes that I'm watching the game and I'm like, man, I wish Braden Carrington was the one shooting those threes. Like, I get that guard wanted to have that size out there, but at some point you have to look at your team and be like, all right, we need to put the best 5 out there, which in my opinion is Boyd, Blackwell, Rohde, Carrington, and Winter.
Yes.
And make other teams adjust to you instead of adjusting to the other team.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about that. So I wish this was another game where Braden Carrington had more playing time. Because the Badgers' offense, they staggered at times in the second half when Boyd couldn't get downhill. USC was doubling him when he was driving, and Rapp had some really open looks off of those drives, and I'd rather see Carrington taking those shots because then you can't help off of Nick Boyd as much. And lastly, the Badgers were up 58-46, that 12-point lead that I mentioned that they have, and they ended up losing 73-71, ending the game on a 27-13 run over the final 12 minutes. So, again, even if you're looking at just your 5 best offensive guys, I mean, I would still consider putting Bieliauskas in over Austin Rapp at that point as well, because it still gives you the size, the shot-making ability, but like Jake said, the physicality increases. So, Mike, what did you take away from the guards on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, the one bright spot, right? I mean, with the one exception to the final possession of the game, I thought Nick Boyd, he still played admirably in this game. He was the big part why we were up by 12 at one point, and he was also the reason why we didn't end up losing by more than two points, right? He just kept us afloat, kept us in it the whole time. 38 minutes, 29 points, 10 and 17 shooting, 1 of 5 from 3, 8 from 9 from the free throw line. Once again, another great free throw outing for Nick Boyd. He's definitely clutch in that situation. There was at one point when he was literally the only guy that could do anything offensively, getting downhill, Tyler, kind of what you were saying before, and, getting anything in the paint, really, I would say for the most part. I thought we could have been maybe potentially a little more physical with these guys. I think they were winning the physical battle a little bit, if we're gonna be honest about this. It sucks because, we just got to find more ways to win ball games when we're scoring. Number one, scoring below 80, right? 80 is always like the benchmark,
number.
it seems like, with this team of like trying to get a win or somewhere really close to that. But
it is 80. They only have 1 win scoring under 80.
Yeah, and it was the Minnesota game with Blackwell's buzzer beater.
Yep.
So,
We had, 74?
Yeah, exactly.
78.
Something like that. 78, 75, yeah. So, I mean, there's not much else to say about this game. Jack Janicki didn't do much. He only got 5 minutes, 1 steal. But no, it was a season low shooting-wise, 34.3% shoot, 34.3%, including 25.7 in the second half, which definitely makes sense. I mean, once Tyler mentioned with Braden Carrington's 3, it just seemed like right after that, everything just went up in smoke, disappeared, and nobody else wanted to come and, play basketball for the rest of the game.
13 points in 12 minutes is rough.
Which is insane. But, I mean, big picture, I mean, from the 3, we finally came back to life a little bit on the 3-point percentage, 9 of 37 for 24%. Take a look at the last 4 games, we were over 40%, right? So it was about there was going to come a point where we came back to reality a little bit.
Yep.
But no, we can still find ways to win games if we're not shooting right. We still only lost by 2. We know this team's capable of finding other ways. I would say, especially if we're losing by 2 and you're one bad last possession away from potentially tying or even winning the game, even on a shitty shooting night with these guys. So, no, and I mean, going back to the assist that I was talking about from the last game where we had 25, we only had 10 in this game too. So taking care of the ball, sharing the ball mainly in this game, I definitely needs to improve going forward long term. Long term, can we come back to life? I'm glad we're at home tonight against Minnesota. That's good. It sounds like Cade Tyson is out for Minnesota too, who's their leading scorer. So I expect us to, have a little fire in our guts and whoop these boys. I think the spread's only -7 or something like that. I want to win by 15. Yes, I'm a greedy dude. Yeah, I'm a greedy dude, but I want to beat these guys up because after losing a home game too, mind you, USC's also a quad 2 loss right now as well. Hopefully, if they win a couple more games, maybe it'll be a quad 1 loss. But for tournament purposes, you got to take that into account as well. And as far as the rotation, last point, I think it's clear as day. Not that I'm a big fan of it. That it's going to be the 7 guys that for sure are going to play are obviously our starting 5 plus Jack Janicki and Braden Carrington. Those are the 7 that are going to be given at some point. They're going to be in the game playing valid minutes, right? It's just a matter of, okay, if you're playing a team like Purdue, well, yes, we're going to have to play Rapp and we're going to have to play Garlock as well, even though one is not necessarily ready. The other one is
not necessarily ready.
Yeah, pretty much. Right? So, I mean, guard, I think he clearly picked out 7 guys that he feels comfortable with. It's just a matter of necessity with the 2 bigs, I think, at this point. But I think it is clear, though, too, guard wants to see a guy like Austin Rapp whether it's make good decisions or he wants to see him get back to what he thinks he can be, right? Whether that's shooting 3 or just doing something as simple as being aggressive down low, right? Because we are going to need them. Even though we might not be the biggest fans of them, we are going to need them. Nolan Winter can obviously not do something himself. He is one game away from committing 2 fouls right away in the first half and,
having to sit for 8 minutes.
Up in smoke. So, that'll wrap it up for me, boys.
All righty. So, like Mike said, the Badgers play Minnesota tonight, and then they play Ohio State on Saturday. So we'll have 2 recaps next Wednesday, as well as some Bucks games as we discuss what the Bucks are going to do without Giannis. And we're getting closer to pitchers and catchers reporting. So Jake and I are going to start thinking about our Brewers primer soon here. But we'll see you guys back next Wednesday with a bunch more basketball discussion. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Later, Jets.
Good luck tonight.